Today I'll be reviewing My Hero Academia Season 3, Episode 7, What a Twist. So this episode was absolutely crazy. There's so much to talk about in this episode. I already know this review is going to take forever to do. So this episode was not what I was expecting based on the title. It was actually the opposite. I don't know, I thought the title was trying to fake us out so that it says what a twist, but things actually go good. But things actually went terribly bad in this episode. So as usual, I'm going to go through the entire episode and give you my thoughts on each and every part of the episode. So the episode starts with Kirishima wanting to help out and fight the other villains, and Ida agrees, but Vlad King says that they shouldn't and they were only supposed to use their quirks for self-defense. And I never knew his name until this episode when I saw it on the title screen, or not the title screen, but on top of him, they never showed his name before, but his name is Vlad King and his quirk is blood control. And we get to see him use it immediately because Dabi comes in with the fire and just burns everything down. And Minatta's like, that's the guy who got creamed earlier. I love how Minatta just says the funniest things in the most random moments when he probably shouldn't be making a joke. So Vlad King is able to stop Dabi with his blood control quirk, but Dabi points out that people have already lost their faith in Yue and in All Might because of what's been happening lately. And then Mr. Aizawa comes in and kicks him and starts stomping him. And then we switch over to Deku's team, who lands right on top of Mr. Compress, or Mr. Compress, and right where all the other villains are. And Dabi strikes immediately. And something I noticed is that Dabi shoots his fire the same exact way Todoroki does. I'm not sure if it looks the same way in the manga too, but I just noticed in the anime he fires his attack the exact same way Todoroki does, as if they were trained by the exact same person. If there was some sort of Fire Nation, like in Avatar, and they did all their attacks the same way, I'd be like, okay. But they fire their attacks the exact same way. And I don't think a writer would do something like that on purpose unless there was a reason behind it. It's almost as if they were trained by the same person. So we might find out that maybe, not that Dabi is related to Todoroki, because obviously Todoroki would have known if they were related, and their fire is different. But maybe Endeavor taught Dabi, and before he became a villain, something along the lines of that. But that's just a little side theory I had. Anyways, after Dabi fires his attacks, he burns Deku and Shoji, which is important later, because before we only see one of Deku's arms that are really injured, the one he was using to fight Muscular, but later on we see that he has two injured arms. Something else I noticed was that Todoroki was able to dodge his attack easily. It was almost as if he read his attack. So that's just something else I wanted to add to the Dabi and Todoroki connection. Anyways, after that we see Toga, who runs towards Deku and jumps on him and tries to stab him and get his blood because she's madly in love with him. But Shoji's like, nope, and slaps her away immediately. Then we get to see Todoroki versus Twice, and Twice actually is really agile and he's able to dodge Todoroki's ice easily. Then it finally looks like there's hope because Shoji gets the marbles that he thinks Bakugo and Tokoyami are in. So they start running, and then right when you think they finally have a chance, a Nomu appears, and I'm thinking this really can't get any worse. But then 3 seconds later, Warp Gate appears, and all the villains start to leave, and then we find out that the marbles they got were just Todoroki's ice turned into marbles. And it turns out he had the real ones on his tongue the entire time. And then right as Mr. Compress is trying to escape and is giving his final bow, Aoyama, aka Naval Laser, at the last minute shoots his face and his mask comes right off. And then he ends up spitting out the marbles, and Shoji is able to grab Tokoyami, but Dabi takes Bakugo. And at that minute I'm thinking, hold up, he has at least 6 arms on him, right? Why couldn't he just stick both of them out? I'm not going to even really blame Todoroki because Shoji has longer arms and they were both right there. And he has 6 arms, but he missed Bakugo? Really? Anyways, at this point, Deku tries to chase after them but doesn't make it. And we hear Bakugo tell Deku at the last minute to stay back. And at that moment, we realize that they lost because Bakugo is through Warp Gate And Deku and all of their faces just have complete despair on it because they realize that they lost. Especially at the end where we see Deku screaming. I think the anime captured that moment perfectly, and I feel like the episode should have ended there, but that was only the like near the halfway point of the episode. So after that, we find out that Ragdoll has gone missing and has lost a lot of blood. So it seems like she's dead, and watch her come back as a Nomu, or maybe she's the spy who was the villain the entire time. I don't know. It'll probably be something along the lines of that. We also find out that some of the villains were captured. After that, we get the meeting between the principal and the other heroes, or at least All Might, Present Mike. I forgot the one guy's name, but he uses a gun to shoot, and Midnight. And then the principal brings up the irony in this situation because the camp was supposed to help them prepare for villain attacks, and villains attacked, and they weren't able to do anything. He also talks about how the villain's aim is to destroy hero society, and he also says that their war has already started. And this is really looking a lot like Naruto at this point, because first was the tuning exams, which is the UA Sports Festival, and then we get now is the Sasuke retrieval arc, and now they have to go get Bakugo. But wait, they already did that and failed. But jokes and comparisons aside for now, the war that the principal mentioned started with the first attack on UA in season 1, where All Might wrecked Nomu, and then with Stain, and then with Shigaraki appearing at the mall. But Stain was the real catalyst for all of this, because if not for Stain, Shigaraki would still be a trash character and a man baby, which is what All Might called him. The principal also brought up something else that I thought was important that I mentioned a few reviews ago, and that's that the villains were probably after Bakugo because they think he's being oppressed. And the principal says that it's probably because they noticed how he acted during the UA Sports Festival. And I just wanted to quickly say this once again like I did in my last review and give you my thoughts on what I mentioned. I said that Bakugo isn't like Sasuke. Even though they have the same drive or the same dedication towards their goal, it doesn't mean that they'll act the same way. I strongly believe that Bakugo won't join the villains for many reasons. One, it would be a complete copy and paste of Naruto. And two, Bakugo can't be the number one hero, which is his goal, as a villain. That's really basic down to his core. And the third reason is he couldn't surpass All Might and be better than him. I guess you could say he could beat All Might as a villain, but it wouldn't be the same. Because if he beat All Might as a villain, you could say he was stronger than All Might, but you can't say that he surpassed All Might in anything but power. He couldn't surpass him as a hero. And another interesting conversation that was talked about during the meeting with the principal and the other UA teachers is when Present Might brings up the fact that there's a traitor, and usually the person to bring up the fact that there is a traitor is involved in the treachery somehow. Even though he doesn't seem like the treacherous type, I didn't think he would even get this serious and bring up someone being a traitor. And I'm 180% sure that I'm going to rule out All Might as being the traitor. I'm not too sure about Mr. Aizawa. I don't think Midnight would be the traitor either. The principal, I'm not too sure because they said he didn't like humans and he used whatever chances he can get to get revenge on humans for what they did to him. That was stated in season 2 back during, I believe, Ashido and Kirishima's exit exam. Well, actually, I think it was Ashido and Kaminari. But let's just rule out all of them for now. But President Mike was really acting suspicious to me. I also want to rule out most of Class 1A, and this might be weird, but after rewatching season 1 and 2 and before starting 3, I noticed that they dropped a lot of hints regarding Asui, the frog girl, and I feel like she's either going to be stronger than she seems, and we just haven't seen enough of her yet, or she's secretly some sort of a villain in disguise. So in season 1, we saw she was able to see straight through the villain's plans during the USJ attack, and in season 2, during the exit exam, it was stated that she has no clear weaknesses. And even when they were working on their quirks in the beginning of this season, while everyone else was working hard on their quirks, all it looked like she was doing was basic training exercises. And in the last episode, she was ready to take on Toga alone instead of fighting with Uraraka, even though they would have had strength in numbers. She even went out of her way to use her tongue to get Uraraka to go. So she's either hiding power or really brave. Chances are, though, I could just be way overthinking this. Let me know what you think of my tiny theory in the comment section below. But President Mike was acting really suspicious. He didn't just bring up the fact that there might be a traitor. He said that it could be one of the students, which is weird because you think it would make more sense to bring up one of the teachers or someone who works for UA since they would know more, but he brings up the students because if he brought up the teachers, it would put him in the line of fire too. So if he is a traitor, this is all really interesting setup. Anyways, during the meeting, All Might gets a phone call, and guess who it is? It's Tsukauchi, the one person who's always calling All Might. And he has a lead on the villains. He always has a lead on the villains. Maybe he's secretly the bad guy. No, just kidding. It's obviously his job to have a lead on the villains. But long story short, he's gonna be able to track the villains because of what Nomu says and because of pieces they've put together. And I love the part where All Might says, when I find them, I'm going to tell them that I am here to make you pay for what you've done. And I always love when All Might goes from like his smaller form to his giant buff All Might hero form. So it looks like we're going to see All Might in action this season. I really can't wait for that. Last time we saw All Might in action, he was wrecking Deku and Bakugo. And before that, he was wrecking Nomu. I can't wait to see who he wrecks this season. And after that, we see Shigaraki celebrating because everyone is trashing UA on TV, and Bakugo is just there locked up with the villains. I really want to know what Bakugo is going to say to them. I wonder if he's still going to be... I'm more than likely sure he's still going to be him and insult the villains right to their face. But I really want to see what his reaction is when they ask him to join the villains. After that, we move on to the final scenes of this episode, and we get yet another sad moment with Deku in the hospital, and we find out that he's been slipping in and out of consciousness for 2 days, and has been suffering from seizures and was delirious with fever. So basically, Deku's been suffering this entire time, and then he thinks back to what his mom says about her not being able to go through another scare, so I wonder what happened with her. I wonder if she'll just make him quit UA or something crazy like that. But anyways, Class 1A comes to see Deku, and some of them come to visit Momo. Oh, I feel so bad for Momo. She got hit in the head and just woke up the other day. Momo's probably my first or second favorite female character in the show. I think Midnight, Uraraka, and Momo are my favorites. The rest are cool and all, they just don't really stand out to me. But I love how Mineta just hilariously says that we bought him a melon. Like, everything's all serious. And then Horikoshi throws in Mineta and he's like, hey, we got a melon. Just like earlier when he was calling Dabi complete, well, he was saying that Dabi got wrecked or something along those lines. It kind of reminds me of how Oda just inserts its comedy whenever he wants to. But that aside, Deku was looking pretty bad. We saw his eyes all widen up, and we also see more sadness when Deku brings up what All Might told him about people being beyond his reach, which is something really important, and that it can actually relate to real life because not everyone is going to be within your reach. Not just saving them, but talking to some people. You won't be able to convince some people to do something, even if it's good for them. And All Might isn't able to save everybody, even though he's the #1 hero. So now Deku has learned firsthand what it's like to not be able to save someone. And this is more than likely going to continue to happen as his journey as a hero continues. But the question is what he does to answer for not being able to save these people when he knows he can't save them. I kind of feel bad for Deku because he was crying saying that Bakugo was right in front of him but he wasn't able to do anything. And then Kirishima says that he has a plan and that they can still save Bakugo using the tracker that Momo made, but Ida says that they shouldn't, thinking back on the Stain incident where he tried to take things into his own hands. And to be honest, I completely agree with Ida. I get where Kirishima is coming from when he says that he couldn't do anything and that if he just stands by after his friend got captured, he can't call himself a hero or a man. And he tells Deku that Bakugo is still within his reach, and he wants Deku to join him, and that's where the episode ends. I honestly agree with Ida completely this time, because if All Might says he's got it, he's got it. I think Kirishima has clearly forgotten what he saw All Might do at the USJ. He was there when All Might sent Nomu flying and was punching faster than he can see. But I guess since Bakugo's his friend, he feels the need to do this. So I talked about a lot in this episode. This episode could have easily been 2 episodes. Like, there was a lot to take in from this episode. Like, if you didn't watch it twice, like I did, you probably aren't going to catch all of it. I feel like they should have had one episode with the end of where the last episode took place. And this episode should have ended with Bakugo being taken, and then Deku yelling. And then this episode, the next episode after this, should have been all of them in the hospital and the teachers meeting. That way they could have expanded on the teacher's thoughts on the traitors and Kirishima's thoughts on wanting to save Bakugo. But that aside, this episode was clearly a 10 out of 10. It had its action, but from a storytelling aspect, this episode reached its max potential in my opinion. I really can't wait to see what happens in the upcoming episodes. I don't think Deku will join Kirishima, even if he agrees, because of what happened with the Stained incident. And I think he'll take Ida's side. But let me know. But I really can't wait to see what happens with that. But let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and bye.